Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Podcast of Honor. Guys, it's been a while since we recorded one of these, and a lot of news has happened. So we're going to have to catch up on some things here. Of course, I'm Chris GST. I'm the web admin, and I am joined, as always, by Ari Berenstein. Ari, how are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty well. It's a summer nice day here in New York City, and there is a lot to talk about. There are no summer doldrums here, so let's get it going.
And also joining us, Chris Miccio. Chris, how's that barbecuing going?
No barbecue tonight, buddy. Just chilling tonight. I like the barbecue on the weekends, not on the week.
That is true. But, I mean, what else are you really doing? Come on, it's the summer.
Well,
what are you doing?
Nothing. I'm on vacation. I'm a teacher, so I take the time in the summer to kind of recharge the batteries a bit.
Exactly.
But we were having some work done around the house over the last few days, so being outside was not exactly simple because there was a lot of dust and grime from they were pointing the brickwork. So now that they're done, now that they're gone, then I can go out back and cook again.
See, that's always fun times. That's always fun times. Just in time for the summer Heat Tour. Guys, Ring of Honor, lots of shows that we have to discuss. Mainly two, and then some TV tapings. Maybe we'll talk about that at the very end to spare everyone the spoilers. But we do have to mention kind of the big news coming out of the weekend. Kevin Steen had his final match against Steve Corino at the aforementioned TV tapings. We're not going to talk about the match itself. We'll do that a little bit later on, just so everyone, if you want, you can avoid that. But this is a moment, guys. I mean, clearly, Kevin Steen, I had a conversation on Twitter with some people about who would be on the Mount Rushmore of Ring of Honor. And if you have to bring in the more recent age, you know, particularly the last 4 or 5 years of Ring of Honor, Kevin Steen, he's right there. You know, there's a little bit of an argument to be made about the history and the impact, but really, if you think about it, Kevin Steen probably has been that guy carrying this promotion, whether he's champion or not, for quite a few years. You know, I guess, you know, Mickey, I'm going to go to you first in this because I'm sure, Ari, you have a lot to say because we've just seen him for so long. You know, I'm assuming both of you might have even been maybe at the because I believe at one of the New York shows he was in part of a 6-way or 4-way. And, I mean, we've literally seen his entire career in Ring of Honor. It's crazy to think about. And now it's almost hard to imagine a Ring of Honor without him.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I think Ari, the first show that we kind of saw him on was the one up in Connecticut with Chris Daniels and Matt Hardy.
Yeah, that's true. That was a the 4-way match that Steen was in with Homicide and a couple of the Special K guys. Really, I guess they weren't Special K anymore at that point. But I think it might have been Izzy and Dixie or somebody like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we've seen it. What was that? 2005.
Yep, and he was in Edison. I think they weren't they doing the was it the No Remorse Corps versus was it Eric Stevens and he needed a partner. I think it was Kevin Steen or something.
Yeah,
or maybe it was the reverse.
I don't know. I think it rings a bell for what you're saying, and and it was definitely in Edison. It was a New Jersey show, definitely. Yeah, we really have. We've seen. What do you figure? We've probably seen Kevin Steen about 20 times live.
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely. I mean,
it is going to be. It's really, you know, when you think about it, it is going to be really hard to kind of, you know, think of ROH without Kevin Steen. I mean, it's like he is that guy that kind of bridged the gap between old and new, and you know, at least who was there consistently between the older ROH and the more modern ROH.
I think him and the Briscoes and probably Roderick Strong.
Yeah, it's like you think those are the guys who've been like the whole, you know, I don't want to say the holdouts, but like the stalwarts, if you will, like the stalwarts of Ring of Honor over the last, you know, pretty much the last decade. And you know, it's gonna be weird to go to an ROH show and not have him there. So you know, I'm really happy for him getting the opportunity to go, you know, to kind of take his career to the next level. Everybody deserves the shot. And I hope it works out for him. I mean, he obviously brings something very unique to the table that, you know, nobody on that NXT roster can really do. I mean, his look is different, his act is different, but, you know, the sky really is the limit with him. I think it's just because he brings the total package to the table. So I'm really happy for him. I'm sad as a fan that I'm not going to get to see him, you know, in an ROH venue again. But at the same time, it's good for him, man.
Yeah, Ari, I mean, this is crazy to think. I mean, Chris, I think you put it very well that he's kind of there, and he is the guy that kind of branches the two. I mean, so many different eras of Ring of Honor when you're talking about him, the Briscoes, especially when guys like Joe and Punk and Danielson and Rollins have left onto quote unquote greener pastures, and of course the rumors out there, Kevin Steen going there as well. Ari, I think there's something to be said that he's not the quote unquote, he's not just the glue that held it together, but for a lot of fans, he was probably one of very few reasons they were still watching, especially after, different bookers were coming in and out and different philosophies, changing Ring of Honor as a promotion. Kevin Steen was kind of that guy that just, I don't want to say he was the quote unquote stone cold of Ring of Honor, but he was the character that made those fans go, you know what, there's a lot of things I don't like about the changes going on, but I'm going to stick around for Kevin Steen.
Well, I think the key for Kevin Steen, and especially the last few years, has sort of been like the key for Samoa Joe's run in Ring of Honor, when he was as peak, and that's believability. And, at the core, when you're talking about professional wrestling, you're talking about how much do the fans buy in. We know it's staged, we know it's, a work, but when push comes to shove, we really do want to believe. We really do want to feel the connection with the wrestlers, that what they're doing as far as in the ring is it's meaningful. It means something. It's something we can get behind. And whether Kevin Steen was playing the role of the hero, the anti-hero, or the villain, I mean, everything that he did was something that helped people buy into him and create a connection. And I think he had a connection that was the same, not the same, but maybe a similar connection to this, the connection that Samoa Joe had to the fans, that CM Punk had to the fans, that Bryan Danielson had to the fans. And when you talk about him coming to the New York shows, stuff like him coming out on the stage, running out with El Generico at Respect Zern, which was Ring of Honor's first ever taped pay-per-view, to confront the Briscoes and the huge brawl they had, and whether it was the Ladder War in Chicago or other matches in New York, where he, when he was the Antichrist of Ring of Honor, and he would come out through the crowd. There's just so many moments where it's all about the connection that the fans had with Kevin Steen, and he truly is and was more than I think almost everybody on the roster in the last 4 years, someone who was loved and beloved by the roster. And years ago when Bryan Danielson left and CM Punk left, and we're wondering who would be that guy who has that kind of capability, and it was Kevin Steen.
Yeah, when you think about the beginnings, I mean, his first match with Ring of Honor at Do or Die 4 against B-Boy, and it's kind of funny. I'm looking here at some of his early matches. You have guys like Vordell Walker, Azrael, defeating him, and then other guys notable like Homicide getting the wins over him. Those kinds of matches you kind of expect. But when him and El Generico were a tag team, they got some pretty significant wins pretty early. I'm looking on here. One of their major wins going in was defeating guys like Adam Pearce, Jimmy Rave, and the Irish Airborne, or going up against the Briscoes early on here in 2007. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that now, 7 years later, we're seeing a Ring of Honor without him. And of course, El Generico left, a lot of other guys have left, but there's always a void to fill, and I think Ring of Honor, probably with their current talent roster, I'd say they're ready. But Ari, Chris, I think both of you know there's going to be a lot of, I don't know, is backlash the right word? Because it always seems that whenever we see a large talent leave Ring of Honor, there's just a bunch of Ring of Honor fans that seem to go, man, this is going to be so bad without him. And I don't know, I don't want that to happen this time around, because I do think there's a lot of notable talent still here that I think they could carry Ring of Honor. It doesn't.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, I think that's kind of inevitable that whenever it happens, you are going to get that. There's nothing you can really do about that. You're right. The roster, for the most part, I think can weather the storm of Steen leaving. He is only one guy. But at the same time, it's you're always going to have people who complain to complain. So you can't avoid that. But I like you said, and like I just said, I really think they're in the right place, and I think they can handle, at this point him leaving. If they can't, they should be used to it by now. These guys, after they reach a certain point, they're going to look to move on. They handled Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards leaving. Nothing really went. It was okay. People complain. People are like, oh, what are they going to do without them? Listen, when you're running a promotion like ROH, you have to understand this is going to be something that happens. So you just got to go with what you have and maybe start to develop somebody else. There are plenty other names out there on the indie scene who could easily be brought into Ring of Honor at any point and be given the opportunity to grow as a character. And that's what they do. That's what ROH has always done, and I think they will again.
Yeah, I think Ring of Honor is ready for life without Kevin Steen on two major fronts. One is obviously this era right now is different because there's plenty of talents that are attraction talents that they can bring in, whether it's their connection with New Japan or if it's guys like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, and even Chris Hero, even though he hasn't been back since March. I mean, you could always bring him back in again. There's a lot of talents who they may not be able to sign to regular contracts, but who they can bring in on a regular basis and kind of bridge the gap and fill in the role of a draw. And then on the other hand, you've got guys like Michael Elgin, who's the champion now, Adam Cole, and then Silas Young and Tommaso Ciampa are sort of coming up, I think, and maybe we'll have sort of the next chances to make that jump as sort of like not homegrown, but like independent homegrown guys who are on the cusp and trying to make that jump to where guys like Elgin and Cole and Kevin Steen were in the pecking order of Ring of Honor. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Kevin Steen is a huge draw for Ring of Honor. He's such and obviously the reason we said before, he's a compelling character. Obviously he may not look like he's Mr. America, or Mr. Wrestling, but he was Mr. Wrestling for a reason. He could brawl, he could wrestle, he could talk you into the building. So they're going to lose that on the face of it, but there's plenty of talents in this era of Ring of Honor, 2014. It's still going to be very strong.
Let's talk about some of the things that we're going to remember Kevin Steen for. I mean, I think the list is kind of endless. His feud with El Generico, I think, tops the list. His feuds with Davey Richards over the world title. Him and El Generico versus guys like the American Wolves or the Briscoes. There's a lot. And then, of course, Scum is probably one of the more notable modern feuds. And I don't know, there's a lot of history there with Kevin Steen. There's so many eras. So, Ari, I'm going to go to you first. If you had to say a quote-unquote, not just matches, because matches, God, we'd be here forever. But maybe a short top 5 list of your all-time favorite feuds of Ring of Honor.
With Kevin Steen involved?
Yes.
I loved his trilogy with Nigel McGuinness, and he brought that up, in his farewell, and then he brings it up in other interviews, that the sort of those matches that he did with them sort of brought him up to that next level in the singles run. This is when Dave Cebulski was still booking, and it really kind of made people look at him, and if you had just seen him in Ring of Honor and go, well, not only is he a tag team with El Generico, but he could be a single star on his own when the time comes. And obviously all the matches with El Generico, from the the F4 Dishonor 8 match, Hate Chapter 2, the Final Battle 2010 match. I think that match above all will get remembered just for the violence level and all that. Also the tag match that he had with Carino teaming up against Generico and Cabana at I think it was Bitter Friends, Stiffer Enemies 2. That whole year, even though I guess they had to, Steen talks about fighting dearly for that feud to continue as it was for the entire year. I think it was such a creative success and something that will always go down as an important part of the last 5 years of Ring of Honor history. Obviously the Davey Richards stuff, winning the world title. His Ring of Honor world title run, I don't think until the Michael Elgin title defense, which I completely loved. It didn't have a hallmark thing to it that sort of defined it. other than Jim Cornette trying to get challenger after challenger to get the title off of him. But I think that Michael Elgin title match, is going to go down. Like I think it's a Glory by Honor 11. It's going to go down as one of the best matches of the last few years for sure, and something I recommend anybody check out. So yeah, I mean, those are just a few things. I mean, obviously, and I'll always remember him coming out through the balcony at the Hammerstein, which I guess we should also mention in the news section, if we're going to cover news, that Ring of Honor may no longer be running the Hammerstein at this point, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But I think I'll always remember Kevin Steen for coming out of the Hammerstein ballroom in the balcony area where Chris and his fiancée Kelly and I and all the fans were around him, and it just an amazing rush to see him come out and be like so rebellious and challenging authority. The fans loved it. It drew such a tremendous reception. Him cutting a promo outside of the Hammerstein ballroom, an impromptu promo that was captured guerrilla marketing and put on YouTube. I mean, it's just all that kind of stuff that he wanted to do, that he did, that really just added into that moment. And those are things that I'll always remember from his time in Ring of Honor. I mean, the guy did a lot.
No, I agree. He did quite a few things. And I mean, for me, one of the things I'm going to remember is, especially during the run with the Age of the Fall, it just felt like it was really Kevin Steen and El Generico versus them for a long time, battling over the tag titles. And then you remember during that year, there's just a lot of tag matches where without them, it would have seemed like the tag division was a little thin or maybe not paid as much attention to. And even though it wasn't always a major part of the shows, I think that it showed that Kevin Steen and El Generico could really at some point carry the promotion. And obviously they did later on. Miccio, how about for you? What are some of the major feuds that you remember?
Well, Ari hit on pretty much most of them, but the one memory that'll kind of always, or the couple of memories that'll always stick out to me, the turn on Generico at Final Battle 2009. Besides the turn, the match with the Bucks was excellent. And we'd all heard, rumblings that Steen was going to be taking some time off because he had a bad, the gimpy knee and whatever. And then when he gave like the kind of like the farewell speech at the end of the match, and then wound up turning on Generico, and just it shifted the landscape of what was going on with ROH, and it just kind of really proved that at that point he had been who he'd been for a while, and it just this real huge shift in character. Just really kind of paid off for me, and then like leading to the whole war with El Generico. I mean, we could talk about the matches with the Wolves and all the other guys that they went in with, but that night, because we were sitting there and it was like it was a moment that everybody felt great about, and then the turn happened and everybody was you could hear like the collective like gasp of the arena that night, where everybody was like, and it was just one of those things where even though you get jaded because you've seen so much wrestling over the years, that you just never thought that they would kind of break those two guys up. I mean, even though we'd seen them fight in other promotions, but you just kind of figured that they would more or less be attached or associated for the rest of their careers in ROH, that it was kind of like even if they weren't teaming, they would still kind of have each other's back. And that night really did it for me. And it's like it showed something, on a different level that you would have gotten out of that. I even thought some of the stuff with Steen and like Colt Cabana after the turn, I thought was really cool. And then when they put Steen with Carino, and Ari's known it for a long time, and I think I've probably mentioned it to you a few times too, Chris, is that I love Steve Carino. And putting Steen with somebody like that who has this track record of being this devious kind of guy, I thought it was a great fit, and I enjoyed almost every minute of it. So, from the first times we saw him to then, it was just you always got into his stuff because he was just, like Ari said before, he was really believable, and you wanted to kind of you wanted to sit back and enjoy what he knew he was going to do. But when they gave him the opportunity to become one of the worst heels of all time, it really did allow it allowed for a development of a character that I don't think I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you can think of something like this, Ari. But do you really think that there was kind of ever a heel, like a hated heel like that, like after he turned on Generico in ROH?
Well, I think that moment, like you were talking about, and when it happened, it's like one of those moments that your hair stands on end, and it's like you think that you kind of sense it's going to happen a second or two before it happens, and it's those moments like I don't know, like when Paul Heyman came out during the ECW, WCW, WWF invasion, and and he says you'll remember this moment for the rest of your lives. I'm not going to equate in terms of like meaningfulness, but I think the feeling that I got when I saw that compares to the Kevin Steen moment, and I think I think.
But meaningfulness as ROH as a promotion, that was like a huge moment for them. It was like where they created almost like their Darth Vader character for an era.
Yeah, I mean, I it's funny though because I think no matter it's not necessarily about hating Kevin Steen because I think even in those moments, people could say, oh yes, he was dastardly and we wanted to see him get his comeuppance, but I'm not sure anyone really truly hated Kevin Steen because he was doing these things. I'm not sure. I think and especially when you advance a year later and he had Jim Cornette and like he worked to work against him. Like he was supposed to be the evil character, the villain character of the television show and all these house shows, and like he couldn't turn like yes, he was depicted that way, but I think we all kind of knew like yeah, we still love this guy. Yeah, he's evil, but we still love him anyway. It's I don't know if it's that on that level, but I think the feelings, like I think he could definitely create those moments. What it is when El Generico left, it became much easier to love Kevin Steen for being Kevin Steen. When El Generico was there, he had someone who was like the antithesis of him, who he could play off of, and so we rallied around El Generico and wanted to see him win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like. And the funny thing is about, the two of them is that, they were just as good as a team as they were as rivals. I mean, it was always a lock to see those two guys have a great match when they were a team. And it was always a lock to have those guys have a great match when they were fighting each other. So it was kind of like, it's like they raised each other's game, whether, like I said, whether as a team or whether as individuals. And, but when you think back about it, it's like, you say to yourself, wouldn't you put Generico as like in the top 5 of most popular, figures in ROH history?
Yeah, I would put him in the top 5, but probably at 5 or 4.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, I think Danielson,
at the
Joe,
time, wait a minute. At the time, though,
and Punk
at the time
became more beloved.
But when Steen turned on him at that point, 2009, 2010. Mm-hmm. Do you really think there was a more popular guy or a more beloved guy on the roster than Generico?
At that time, probably not. I think Davey was very close at that point because there wasn't a lot of
it's a different type of popularity, though, for Davey Richards and Generico.
Sure. There wasn't a lot of backlash, especially at that point on Davey. Like, he had to kind of subsumed the Bryan Danielson role of being in the ring. But, I mean, in terms of, like, pure love, I mean, I guess I'll stipulate Miccio. It's kind of... I kind of can't remember 100% what it was like back then, but I mean, yeah, you've got Tyler Black, who they're kind of hurting with their push because of this transition. Yeah, I mean, I'd say Generico was definitely like he was one of the easiest guys you could kind of cheer for.
Yeah, he was like everybody could relate to Generico, even though you think back and you have to give so much credit to him as a performer in the sense that he did all that without ever saying a word.
Yeah, so very few words of broken English, broken Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing, it was just a memorable period of time. Just with those two guys, really, they were really hitting on all cylinders every time they were in the ring.
Absolutely. Now, did you see the Kevin Steen farewell video that played?
I did.
From the show?
I did. I saw it this afternoon.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was a really nice moment. I thought what he said about with the way Christopher Daniels had treated him when he was a young guy coming up, when they wrestled for the first time, like almost 10 years ago kind of thing. and he said that a lot of the older guys kind of maybe treat the younger guys like crap, and he talked about the fact that Daniels kind of went out of his way to not do that to him. I thought that was really kind of cool. It was nice that he gave nods to everybody, especially the guys who were there. Obviously, I'm sure he could have talked for a lot longer if he wanted to, but I thought it was honest, and I thought it was from the heart, and it was nice to see. I would have loved to have been able to have been at a show like that, but we don't exactly live in Michigan, so.
Sure. I mean, we weren't there for CM Punk's farewell, being live in the building, and obviously just watching when that happened. It was one of the more meaningful, emotional farewells for me. And I think, when I was reading the comments of the people who were there live for Steen's farewell, just the other day, that a lot of people were comparing it to those moments, that sort of Punk farewell. And obviously, I think it goes to show this is a guy and a character we cared a lot for, and I think the fans, reacted to him because of that. So, I enjoyed the farewell video. I thought, obviously, like you said, Steen could have gone on forever, but it was very nice for what he said, and obviously, again, it goes to show there's a divide between what you see up front and what you see behind the scenes, and when he lifts the curtain a little bit and shows you he is genuinely a humble guy, a thankful guy. The guy definitely knows where he came from, and if you listen to his interviews, whether it was, I think PW Ponderings did an interview with him last year. He's done an appearance on Steve Austin's show. Whenever he talks about his beginnings and, how he had to transition from being in Canada to learning better English and through wrestling and all that kind of stuff. And what kind of person he is. You see from that video, how thankful he is to everybody.
Yeah, he really does appreciate everything that everybody who helped him on the way up. He appreciates it, and you can tell that he's legit sincere about when he talks about things like that. A lot of guys pay lip service to stuff like that, but you can really tell he's 100% sincere.
Yes, and I think Carino, when he did his promo to build up the match, also obviously he had to, it was promo mode, but obviously you could also sense his sincerity of, what being connected with Kevin Steen in the last few years has meant to him. So there is a meaningfulness there, and it's important to appreciate that. So GST, what did you think of the video when you saw it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool to see him. Obviously he had a really fun time with the fans, talking about what he got, like a John Cena figure and balloons and all this stuff.
Champagne streamers, a huge streamer reception.
The silly string too.
Yeah, I think someone even mentioned that they were selling streamers there at the show, and most likely because of Kevin Steen. Because as far as I know, I don't think they've ever sold them before, at least not majorly. So. Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty cool, and I think that obviously Steen's going to be missed, and who knows though? Who knows what the future is going to?
Is that match going to make TV?
Yes, it should. Yeah, it should be on their TV.
Yeah, I mean, when Tyler Black made his farewells, they did a farewell for him on television and stuff like that. I think they're okay with doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it's like I looked at I know we're going to get into the other shows kind of stuff too, but I thought it would have been. With him losing to to Silas Young on the show before they did the TV taping, I thought it would have been okay to kind of have the story end like that for Steen and ROH. You always go out on your back, as they say in the business. But I was hopeful that it would make TV so I could see it.
The loser leave town match, and that's how it ends.
Samoa Joe did win almost every one of his farewell matches, and didn't Punk win his match too?
No, Punk lost the match to Colt Cabana.
Oh, did he? Was it two out of? Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm still assuming
Joe. We'll blame Joe. I mean, no, Joe should win as much as he wants. Yes.
Yes, as should many wrestlers, as long as they want. But yeah, no, I thought it was a really cool video, and of course, if you check on pwponies.com, there are two different videos, different vantage points. You can see different details, so go check that out. Guys, we got to talk about another Ring of Honor stalwart leaving, Matt Hardy. Man, this is serious. Matt Hardy, he's no longer going to be in Ring of Honor. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
I cried for an hour after I heard that.
Oh, you guys are so horrible. Why the sarcasm? Why the sarcasm? What are you guys talking about? Matt Hardy was a very valuable member of the Ring of Honor roster the last 2 years.
I will give you that, yes. I mean, anyone can say what they want about his wrestling. I think that the last few matches that I saw with him in, he definitely, he picked it up a notch. And his name value alone is important. I will give you that.
That's all correct. You're 100% right.
But in terms of the overall, I mean, being a part of Scum or being the mentor to Adam Cole, it's fun stuff. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but at the same time, I mean, at this point, it is what it is, and we're going to talk about the Manhattan Center, as you mentioned earlier. I guess TNA now using it. I mean, they're going to be using Matt Hardy to team with Jeff Hardy, I guess, for the foreseeable future. And
that's big news. Big news. The TNA broke that news last night or the night before, depending on when you listen to this, or maybe a couple months ago, depending on when you listen to this. But Matt Hardy's coming to TNA. Who knew that was going to happen?
Wow.
Who knew that in 2014 we would see the Hardy Boys?
I don't know, man.
Whatever. I mean, hey, it's
I just know that we were there live, Miccio and I, so we kind of knew that was happening before it was happening. But listen, we couldn't tell the entire world. We had to keep it a secret.
Well, we still can't really talk about it because I don't think it airs until next week, right?
Yeah, next week, I think, or the week after. I don't know.
I don't think it airs next week. Does it really air next week?
No, next week, I don't know.
What, are they running the Destination X show next week?
I think that's in 2 weeks.
I don't even know at this point.
Well, whatever. You guys know the future. It's happening.
We should go put a bet on something.
It's kind of hazy. We don't know for sure. Some point in the future,
But yeah, okay. You know what? At the same time, though, it's Matt Hardy. Will he come back to Ring of Honor? Probably, because I cannot imagine his stay in TNA will be that long. And even if it is, whatever.
Well, I mean, I guess the rumbling was that it was a Ring of Honor call. I mean, I'm pretty sure Matt Hardy would have wrestled for as long as they wanted him to wrestle in Ring of Honor. But I don't know. There's like this shadow war of some sorts. This silent war that's going on between ROH and TNA. You hear rumors of.
It's not that much of a shadow war. I mean, it's been going on since
we don't talk about it. People don't talk about it. It's like mommy and daddy are yelling in the room outside, and it's like no one wants to talk about it or something. I don't know.
I mean, who is mommy and who is daddy in this analogy? Because
I don't know.
In my opinion, I'm thinking Ring of Honor's daddy.
Who's your daddy?
Dixie Carter is part of TNA, and she's. Well, never mind. Let me stop right there.
But now think about this, though. I mean, you talking about the shadow, like a shadow war, a behind-the-scenes war. The reality is that because TNA was willing to pay whatever the people who run Hammerstein or the Manhattan Center were charging, and they were stupid enough to pay an increased rate to ROH. Now ROH is screwed out of the building, which had become their New York City home for so many years.
But I don't think it was so much that they screwed out. I think Ring of Honor knew for a little bit that, hey, it's getting kind of expensive. I mean, because you saw the lack of shows that they would run there. They'd really only go there for really special events. And, even if TNA wasn't running there, I mean, business is business. I mean, you guys have been telling me for quite a long time, couple of years, that, hey, it's getting expensive for Ring of Honor to run here. They've got to look at other places.
Yeah, but at the same time, that the reality is, in the New York market, there's no venue that's even close to that. There just isn't. There's no place that they could put an event and A, have that many people, or B, have that much, that seating capacity. They're just not going to have it.
Right. And I think what they lose, it's obviously, 34th Street.
Location.
Penn Station, Madison Square Garden. It's a central traveling hub for so many subway lines and
Metro,
LIRR.
Railroad, New Jersey Transit, the subway system, everybody.
So everybody had a major access point, and then all you have to do is go up 2 avenues to get to the Hammerstein. And anywhere else now, if it's not within a central hub, you're talking about hard, difficult to access. When I went to the CHIKARA show this weekend, was at Stage 48 on 48th Street and 11th Avenue, which is not that far from Terminal 5, actually. It might have just been up the block or around the corner. Terminal 5 is this very large, kind of I would guess the equivalent of a Hammerstein or a Roseland venue, the next closest equivalent that could probably comfortably fit. The fans that Ring of Honor was getting at the Hammerstein, but it's very much out of the way, of major subway lines.
It doesn't have balcony seating like even the upstairs room at Hammerstein did.
That's correct. It's got the balcony railings, and much like in Stage 48, there was one balcony railing. But if you didn't get your balcony railings standing room section, you were SOL at that CHIKARA show. So yeah, there really isn't like a minor major
like
venue,
auditorium
like
type venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that they're running the MC at MCU in a couple weeks here in here in Brooklyn, but they really do need to find a new home for their stuff here in New York City. And it's like you think about other venues that have been used by other promotions, whether it be CHIKARA, whether it be DG USA and Evolve using the places here, like the place here in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Lyceum. These are venues that are way too small for ROH, considering the fact that if they do have a special event type situation like they've done here in New York on so many occasions, they're not going to be able to get or sell the number of tickets that they would. So it's like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to pack out at 1,000 now? If that's the case, you're going to have to jack up the ticket prices anyway, because in order to make that 1,000-seat venue or the 1,000-spot ticket venue profitable, you're going to have to raise the prices to pay for the talent that you're bringing in.
Yeah, so it becomes a difficult balancing act between how much are the fans willing to pay and how much are you willing to pay for rent and to make money on that. And it just wasn't going to make sense for them at the Hammerstein at this point.
Yeah, but
and
the funny
I don't know if I would blame TNA for them, because I think a lot from what I've read from Jim Cornette interviews and stuff like that is that the Hammerstein ballroom people always they charge high, but maybe this was sort of like the kicker.
Well, yeah, but think about it. They charge high because they offer the best potential venue for their product. And it's like there's nothing else there really is no venue in New York City that compares to it. Every other venue that they could potentially use, they're too big to use.
Yeah, I mean, they can't use Irving is too small, Webster Hall too small. I mean, we could just run it down. Beacon Theater is a theater. It's got the stage. So if you did something like you would end up doing something like WWN did with their WrestleMania weekend, and that's just too odd. It doesn't really work out.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what wrestling fans are used to. Maybe the Armories, maybe like the Armory on Lexington and 20-something Street. Maybe the Armory way uptown, where they held the big track, like the high school track meets.
Well, guys, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Since you guys do know the venue so well, and you know the fans pretty well, if Ring of Honor had to, and obviously we don't know what's going on. Maybe TNA said, hey, you can't have Ring of Honor here anymore. Maybe they didn't. Maybe Ring of Honor is just like, hey, this is a business call. We can't afford it because even when we sell out the place, we lose money.
I think it's more that.
The only other option is to raise ticket prices. Do you think your market would be able to handle that?
I do.
Okay.
I don't. And we were actually talking about this a little bit last night. I think it depends. I think it depends how much you're talking in price range. And I think if you're talking about general admission, yes. But it's hard. It's difficult to ask people to pay $100, $120 for.
Well, okay. How much were your tickets to the TNA event? Because I don't remember, but they were expensive, right?
Free,
$0.
Not. If you were to have paid for your tickets, how much were they?
No idea.
Jeez, guys.
They said comp on them. There was no price on them.
Come on, GST. You got to give us a little bit of a kayfabe warning there. Come on. Tell us to, cover. For God's sakes, man.
I know. I'm sorry. My bad. Well, anyway, okay. So let's say that. Okay, normally, what did you guys pay for general admission for Ring of Honor?
I think it's $20, $25. I think
it was 20. I think it was 25.
Right. Okay. And so then I think this is the obvious equation. Let's look at PWG. They're having Bola. Their ticket prices are $30, $35, $40. If Ring of Honor upped it $10, I'm including each tier. So general admission instead of 25 became 35. Do you? I
don't think honestly, Chris, I don't think it would be a problem.
I probably not on the lower tiers, I would say.
Well, I mean,
Lower
no, but
prices wouldn't be a
include
problem.
the front row and everything else. So say front row became, oh god, I don't know, what was it like? I think it was
Front
like,
row-
was it 75 for the TNA
No,
show? What
front
was
row
it?
was, I think, was like he was either 80 or 85.
Yeah.
God bless
You
those
know what?
fans.
Maybe
God bless
Mikio's right. Maybe there would be a ton of grumbling, but I remember when Joe Kobashi tickets were on sale, and it was the most expensive that it had been at that point. I think was it 50, 75, something like that.
No, I think it was 65.
Went up to 65 from like $50 front row, and we're like, what?
But then it went back down after that show.
That's right. Because for Kobashi, we were like 100%. It's worth it to pay the whatever it costs to bring this guy in to give us this special moment, and it was worth it. But I mean, on the regular, are you asking like if it goes up to from 100 to 120 or 135? I mean, the people who buy front row nowadays, I mean, I guess you'd have to ask them because we don't buy front row, and I've been buying general admission for the last year and a half. So,
yeah,
I mean,
but
would I pay more, $5 to $10 more? Yes.
If you paid attention to what was going on with ticket prices on scalping websites or like StubHubs and places like that for the show, the New Japan show in May, those tickets were going for $300, $400 front row tickets, and people were not having trouble selling them. So if they give you something that you're gonna hang your hat on, I don't think you'd have trouble selling them for $25 more. I really think you're underestimating people's love of the product.
Not every show is going to be the crossover with New Japan. Not every show is going to be Kobashi coming in for a special match.
But that is true. But then that's why you would only make those shows special. You would only go to the Manhattan Center for the big shows.
No, not the Manhattan Center. This is what I was just going to say. If you want to run the big room for those special shows, that's fine. Then run the small room you're not going to have to pay the same amount of money to rent the small room as the big room.
Right. So you fit in less. So again, does the money work out? I mean,
but
it's up to them. They're saying it doesn't.
So what? So wait a minute. So you'd rather see them not run New York because of $10 extra tickets than to stay here? But that's what it's basically saying. To stay in the same venue that's been their home. You think it's really going to make a difference over $15 or $20 or not being here because there is no alternative venue.
I guess we'll see because I don't know, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying
But that's what you're implying is that it is totally what you're implying that $20 is going to change a whole group of fans who go to every show's mind because it's $20.
I think on the lower tier, if people would have no problem. I think, if you boost a $25 ticket to $30, $35, it's not going to be a problem. But I think when you get to the higher cost, that might be a problem. But
if you're only running 3 shows in New York a year, which they did this year, right? Then why wouldn't you do it?
I don't know. Let's go ask them. Otherwise, we're just spinning the wheels speculating. I hope they come up with a solution. I want them to continue to run New York. I'm
looking at some of these prices.
I hate traveling. I like them coming here.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking at some of these prices. I'm looking at some of these prices for this MCU Park, the Field of Honor show coming up. You have 25 for the box, 40 for a field box, and 70 for VIP. I'm thinking if you kept similar prices to that, so say it was like 35 for general admission, maybe the 40 goes to 45, and then ringside,
you got to push 100, if not a little bit more than 100 for ringside. Then maybe you throw something in with the $100 ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe with the 100, instead of it's not just the seat and it's not just the chance at the seat, it's actually you get front row and you get like
meet and greet. Exactly.
Yeah, meet and greet, autograph. You get, maybe say, you spend $100 for front row. We give you 1 free VOD download because honestly, what does that really cost them? It costs them nothing. We all know this.
Or if somebody hits a magic move during their match, they can get a free sticker. No.
Well, sure. I don't.
Or a fruit basket. How about a fruit basket to everybody who buys front row? If it's given to you by
mixing universes, Chris. He's mixing universes. Stop him.
My mind is hurting right now. Ari, don't do this to me.
Okay. Can we move on now? Let's go to a different story.
Yes, let's talk about some other things. But no, I mean, I think there's a really good, important discussion for the future.
Oh, absolutely,
Honor, so,
absolutely.
And then, I don't know, I don't know the geography very well. Maybe this MCU park could be a good thing, and if Ring of Honor goes every year, maybe that's kind of enough for those fans. I don't know. We'll see.
I think it'd
Do
be
you really
awesome
think once a year is enough for?
No, I don't just mean once. I just mean having that type of a show there once a year, and then you have
Right.
other New York shows. Maybe that would be good for the fans.
Well,
At smaller
again,
venues. So say like you have that one major show and 2 or 3 other shows at smaller venues. Maybe that would be enough for the market.
they
I
were
don't know.
specifically invited by the Brooklyn Cyclones group, the MCU people, to do their show there instead of TNA. So, I mean, this is a big moment for them. If they do well, I'm sure they'll be invited back. But if they don't, then who knows for next year? It's not a guarantee.
Right. Well, let's start talking about some of these shows here that have occurred since Best in the World. We have 2 main shows to talk about: the Aftershock and then the Summer Heat Tour in Cincinnati that occurred this past weekend. And then, as I said, we'll talk about some of the TV results later on and give you very much fair warnings that you can all leave and not listen if you really, really need to not know what happened. So yeah, guys, let's talk about this. Ring of Honor Aftershock. This took place July 12th in Hopkins, New York. The estimated attendance was at 600. We want to credit ProWrestling.net for that. And, this show, again, right off the heels of Best in the World, you're not expecting it to have a huge amount of buzz for it. But it sounds like it was pretty enjoyable. I'm going to run down the results real quick. The Ring of Honor World Champion and War Machine, that's Rowan Hansen versus the Kingdom of Adam Cole, Matt Hardy, and Michael Bennett went to a DQ to set up the main event for Elgin versus Hardy for the ROH title. Bobby Fish defeated Cheeseburger. Cedric Alexander defeated Kyle O'Reilly. The Briscoe brothers defeated The Decade. I have some issues with that, but we'll talk about that in a second. The Proving Grounds match, the TV champion Jay Lethal defeated Takaki Watanabe. Kevin Steen defeated Tommaso Ciampa in one of the last matches he's going to have. And then 4-corner survival. The winner gets a future ROH title shot. Silas Young pinned ACH with his backbreaker lariat combo, so he's going to get a future title shot. And then, of course, in the main event, Michael Elgin defeated Matt Hardy with the crossface to retain. Guys, what's going on with The Decade? They came in kind of strong. I understand their motivations, and now it seems like they're just losing all over the place. Ari, what's going on here? This is ridiculous.
No, I think we're in a transition point. I would like to see actually the Decade feud with the Briscoe brothers and sort of the Briscoe brothers. We were around here. We give respect to people versus the Decade was like, we're around here, but we don't give respect to people. And the Briscoe brothers would be like, yo, you should give respect to people. And the Decade's like, no, we're not going to give respect to people. Why'd you come beat the respect out of us? The Briscoes are like, man up. Yeah, we'll do that. I think they could do a lot with that, but I guess we'll see where it goes. The Age of the Fall, after a while, they were just a group, and I think it's tough to maintain a stable and keep them focused without pinning an entire promotion around them. Otherwise, they kind of become they are a mid card act, and it's going to be important for them to continue to just have a presence and be kept sort of strong. Otherwise, they're sort of like, well, what's the point? What's the agenda? And the problem also is, while a lot of the main players of the Decade are losing, the young boys are losing too, quote unquote young boys. So like when Adam Page loses and they take it out on him, it becomes an entire group of like losers, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm hoping they do have a battle plan and that it becomes apparent and that it involves the Briscoes, but who knows?
Well, I hope so too, just because, as you said, the Decade, they got defeated by the Briscoes. And on the surface, you can say, okay, the Briscoes they have a lot more experience when it comes to tag team wrestling. Although, hey, Whitmer and Jacobs, they've been tag team champions before in Ring of Honor, so even that is kind of there. And then this past weekend, they defeated ACH, Cedric Alexander, and Caprice Coleman. So it's like, so they can beat those guys, but they can't beat, I guess, talents on the second tier. So that kind of puts that into perspective. But Miccio, any thoughts on the Decade storyline or the show as a whole?
No, it's kind of, you want to see them win, but at the same time, I don't know that they're willing to I don't know that ROH is willing to go back to having a faction as the main focus of the promotion again. With having, they did the scum thing for a year, and it's just like, you're finally getting over that. It's like, I mean, what other way would you have them kind of make a big statement? You know what I mean? other than putting them towards the top of the card. But I don't think they want to do that right now. As far as the rest of the card was concerned, I like the idea that what's it called, that Silas Young is going to get a title shot.
Yes.
In August. I think that'll be a pretty decent match with him and Elgin. I'm looking forward to seeing the Elgin Matt Hardy match. I want to see if Elgin can pull something good out of Hardy. And I heard the Steen Ciampa match was really good. So, I'm interested to see that. They're like, I don't really know that I necessarily need to see Bobby Fish and Cheeseburger. I don't know that needs to be.
You do, Miccio. It's Ring of Honor canon. You need to see.
I really don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel like I need that. But it looks like everybody, from what I've heard, it sounds like a good show. I'd like to see the Alexander and O'Reilly match, because I think those are two guys who are really kind of coming into their own, as far as how they perform. I mean, O'Reilly's been blowing stuff up in PWG over the last year. And it seems like everybody's saying that Cedric is kind of like, even Steen says it in his, farewell speech, that he feels like Cedric Alexander is the future of the promotion. So, I don't know that you can go wrong. I just want to see it. But, nothing, no major points coming out of that. I do like what Ari said, though, about having, pairing the Briscoes off with the decade, though. It's like, you've been here for 10 years. We've been here since day one. And it's like, this is the way things should really get done. And, be respectful, remember what Ring of Honor is all about, kind of thing. But I don't know that they're going to do that.
I agree. And it is available right now. You can check that out, ROHWrestling.com, in their IPPV section. They really got to change this website at some point. Anyway, let's move on. It seems like, I heard similar things. It was a good show, and we'll have a review up on the site sooner or later. All right, let's talk about the Cincinnati show, which was part of the Ring of Honor Summer Heat Tour. Took place this past weekend on the 18th. And I'm going to run down the card. And I don't know. For me, obviously, the other one being a TV taping, this to me, it seems like a stronger card. But also just the matches themselves seem, I personally think I would enjoy them a lot more. In the Ring of Honor tag title scene, the Red Dragon defeated Tommaso Ciampa and Rocky Romero to attain. I believe... Am I correct on that? They were supposed to have oh God, I just drew a blank on his name. Who does Rocky Romero team with?
Kozlov.
Yes, Kozlov. God, I was like, I know it's a Russian name and I can't think of it right now. So I believe he was supposed to be originally on the card and then he was injured, so they put in Ciampa. But hey, either way, that sounds like it would be a good match, no matter what. Jay Lethal defeated the Romantic Touch to retain his TV title. There's some I don't know, it's not a quote-unquote conspiracy, but there are people online who were tweeting, and our live reporter, Jeremy Moses, he said that he wasn't sure. When Touch got unmasked, it was Matt Taven, but there are people online who discussed it with him and me that it was definitely someone else under the Romantic Touch hood for the match. So I don't know. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet. I can't tell if there's like a switcheroo.
Are you saying there are dose Romantic Touches?
That's kind of the idea I was getting. And I'm serious. If people want to go look this up, look it up on Twitter. I believe someone mentioned it on Reddit that during the match, it was definitely the quote-unquote original Romantic Touch, and then only at the end when he pulled off his mask was it Taven. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. And then the Decade, Jimmy Jacobs, PJ Whitmer, and Adam Page defeated ACH, Cedric Alexander, and Caprice Coleman, as I mentioned before. In a no DQ match, and this is the one I'm looking forward to, Silas Young defeated Kevin Steen. Said to be a great match. And obviously, probably, maybe the match we were hoping they would have at Best in the World. RD Evans, he defeated Moose, Matt Taven, and hashtag All Ego. Guys, we're going to see Moose. This is awesome. This is a moment. You want to mark this down. The Briscoe brothers and War Machine that went to a no contest after they were attacked by Adam Cole and Jay Lethal. I probably should have mentioned that in the beginning. Mike Bennett was out the whole weekend due to food poisoning. So that kind of sucks. Hopefully he is feeling better now. With personal experience, food poisoning is no fun. It really isn't. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian defeated Adam Cole and Jay Lethal. I'm pretty sure Jay Lethal is not going to be quote-unquote part of the Kingdom. This is probably just for the show. And the Ring of Honor World Title match, Michael Elgin defeated Roderick Strong in a match that I pretty much saw universally. All the tweets about it was a fantastic match. So I'm looking forward to that. It's not up on VOD yet. Miccio, what are your thoughts on this show as a whole?
On paper, it sounds like it's a really good show, and I'm really interested to kind of get my opportunity to see this. Now, what I really want to see is I want to see Moose. I got to see this guy. I heard it's life-changing to watch this guy wrestle.
But the streak continues, and I'm still not sure whether this adds 3 wins or just 1 win. I'm not sure.
I think he count 3 because he did technically beat 3 guys. It was a 4-way match.
Yeah, I really don't know.
You got to give Ari Evans the benefit of the doubt, so give him all 3.
Ari, is that how this works? If you win a 4-way, do you get 3 wins?
I don't know. Do I make up the rules?
Yes, you do. We all know you make up the rules, so tell us what happened.
I'll make them up as I go. Sure. Count them 3. 3 for Ari Evans.
There you go.
And Moose counts as 2, so that's actually 4.
Yeah, because he's really big. Yeah.
He's big.
He really is. Big. He is a big guy. Ari, did you have any thoughts on the when you heard the results? I mean, pretty much, quote unquote, predictable, but at the same time, hey, it makes sense, right?
Well, I gotta say 2 things. The first one, obviously, it's unfortunate with Mike Bennett got sick, and there's some changes to the card that happened. But you know what? It looks like they did a good job sort of balancing that out and keeping things going and making sure that the fans still got a good show out of the matches that had to have substitutions to them. So like the Red Dragon tag title match, that was reportedly pretty good, and obviously Ciampa and Romero, they're not normally tag team partners, so when they lost, there was some sort of apparently storyline tiff between the 2 of them, and so there might be something that comes out of that in the future. So some good stuff came out of some unfortunate situations. It was good to see Silas Young going over Kevin Steen, because obviously Kevin Steen took the match at Best in the World. Here he took the last match between the 2, it seems. Adam Cole and Jay Lethal, it's actually kind of a, obviously Cole teams up with Bennett and Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's leaving, and so I think Lethal is actually a pretty good kind of next subordinate, on the heel line, as far as someone that Cole can team up with, and it kind of works. And I kind of like that. I like to see what they did against Daniels and Kazarian. And I think the major thing coming out of all these shows is to establish Elgin as the world champion, and with the title defense against Matt Hardy, and the defense against Strong here, you've got matches. Maybe they're not the most main event worthy, but they, on paper. But I think it was important for Elgin to get a win over Matt Hardy because of his name value, and Hardy goes out and he lost his last 2 matches. So even though fans never really did cotton to him, and they wanted to hate him, and that was the entire point. I wrote a column that basically suggested exactly that. He was there never to be liked by the fans, but to be disliked. But he went out and he lost his last 2 matches, and he put over guys who needed to be put over, including Michael Elgin. So hats off to him. And Elgin beat Strong. So these opening shows of his title run have to be strong, no pun intended, to focus on Elgin as the defending champion. And I think they did that. And I think it'll be good to see Elgin sort of build his legacy in these few opening months. And sort of do what he wanted to do, which is sort of like set up against like a Samoa Joe reign where he was defending every show. And I think Elgin is trying to do that as much as possible. And I think it's a good thing.
I think you did mean to have that pun there with the Strong. That's just me.
It's just so easy, GST. It happens all the time.
That was like taking candy from a baby, man.
Oh man,
it really was. That was sweet, though. It was sweet.
It was like taking the hashtag from hashtag all ego. No, I'm just not. Never mind.
So his first 2 title matches. I mean, but hey, to speak to what you said, Matt Hardy, Roderick Strong. That's a pretty good, right? I mean, if you were any other world champion in another promotion and those were your first 2 opponents, I don't think anyone would say anything.
On the independent scene, it's definitely a pretty solid start. I mean, yes. You can't just throw.
And there was a third on the TV tapings, but we'll get to that.
Right, you can't just go right to the Adam Cole rematch. You got to have quality defenses, but at the same time, you can't just you can't give the entire Golden Goose away. So these were 2, and obviously the Hardy match was impromptu because the main event was supposed to be the 6-man tag at the Aftershock show. And the Strong match was set up when Strong accepted the former champions. I'll defend against any former champions thing. So, there's some solid structure to some of these defenses. And then there's the added value of of a Hardy defense that you didn't see coming. Yeah. And I think it works both ways.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, I encourage everyone, go check out Ari's latest column of honor where he talks about the former champions in Ring of Honor that Elgin could defend against. And I think it's a very well-written article. I agree with a lot of what you said. And especially, when you give the option that, hey, is this really going to happen? Maybe not, but it'd still be fun to see. And but hey, you know what, guys? Xavier could return. You never know.
It could happen. We really need that, yeah.
Yes, we do. One can only hope.
Exactly. And hey, the guys that are pretty up there, with Jay Briscoe, Adam Cole, obviously I'm pretty sure that's come. You can strike Roderick Strong from that, right? And then I don't know, Nigel McGuinness, yeah, we all know what's going on there. He's not going to wrestle again, especially according to him. So, that's kind of a pipe dream. But as you said, we do have Homicide out there. You could potentially have guys like Aries, depending on how they are with TNA. Who knows? It's all up in the air. We'll find out. And then maybe, hey, every once in a while, maybe Jerry Lynn. I know he retired, but you never know. One more match. Come on, Jerry. Just do it. But yeah, everyone go check out that column of honor. And of course, every week, as Ari writes them, this is the point, guys. We're going to talk about the TV spoilers that took place on the 19th, and this includes Kevin Steen's last match. But if for anyone that doesn't want to listen to it, thanks for listening. And, of course, leave a review for us on iTunes or Stitcher. All right, guys. Let's get into this. Spoilers. And this is, to me, this is the most shocking one. Moose got a win in Ep1. Yeah? You guys are excited? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait. I'm so excited it hurts.
I know. I'm just waiting.
Hangnail I have. I don't know. I haven't figured out which one it is.
I'm assuming you guys have read them down, or if not, I can send you the link right now to the results right there. Because I don't think we don't need to run down every single match that happened. But judging just by looking at the TV, I'm looking forward to seeing the Monster Mafia in Ring of Honor again. I think that's going to be kind of cool. And Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Page, Adam Cole versus Rocky Romero. I mean, there's a lot of matches on here when you think that were just taped for the television. Pretty good quality stuff, right? And then of course we have
this looked like a really good television taping set all in all. And they only did 3 episodes, so that
four episodes.
Oh, they did 4? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Golden Gauntlet is one entire episode, which makes sense, right? Because you would assume that, hey, that whole episode is just going to be guys they're vying for a shot at the world title. That's important. That could be easily an hour show. Yeah,
fair enough.
And honestly, if this was say this was just put on DVD, I would probably buy the show. I'm just saying, it's a pretty good looking show, especially with the quote unquote main event of being Steen versus Carino as the final match. That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, any thoughts coming out of this? I mean, let's see, ACH or Cedric Alexander, he defeated Jay Lethal to win the Gauntlet match, so he's getting a future world title shot.
Yeah, judging from Steen, Steen mentioning Cedric Alexander specifically, and then obviously him winning this match. I mean, obviously, Ring of Honor definitely wants to do something big with Cedric Alexander. So let's hope it works.
Yeah, and the reason why I was saying ACH is because I'm looking at here in F4, he defeated TD Thomas. So you're kind of it feels like kind of not a culmination, that's the incorrect word, but you're getting those young guys defeating the young guys in the decade, and then of course it was said after the match, Jacobs and Whitmer put the beat down on Page and Thomas, and that it seemed like they were ready to revolt, but just didn't. So we're already seeing.
They know what's good for them.
Exactly, right? I mean, well, hey, if you're in a group with Whitmer and Jacobs and Strong, why would you want to leave? I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, anything. Obviously, we don't know any video packages or stuff that they may have recorded, but just looking at the results, is there anything that kind of, I guess, steps up from the rest?
I'm excited that Daniels and Kazarian got the guaranteed future ROH tag team title match. That should be good. Right. You can't go wrong with having them
tag teams.
in a tag team title match. I like the fact that I do like the fact that they're pushing War Machine. I think they're an interesting crew. They have a really different look than a lot of the typical ROH guys, and I think they could be in there and be interesting. I don't know that they're ready necessarily in the ring, but I think the potential is there for them.
No, absolutely. And then that's I think that's a good push because they may have losses, but it's not like they're losing to teams. Whereas contrast to what we were saying before about the decade, it's like, come on, guys, it's Whitmer and Jacobs, former Ring of Honor tag champions. They have just as much experience. They should be getting some significant wins.
And when you think about it, you look at the teams that were in that 4-way match. You have Bad Influence, you have Jacobs and Strong, and the Briscoes. So having them lose that match is not such a big deal.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Daniels and Kazarian are primed for a couple more tag title shots over the summer. So it makes sense for them to win a match like this.
It does. I mean, that is something I think we talked about in the last podcast of Honor, but maybe not as much because clear, having guys come in like Daniels and Kazarian for Best in the World, but now also being on their TV, being on, I don't want to say regular house shows in a sort of demeaning way, but hey, on August 9th on the Summer Heat Tour in Philly, they're going to have the Young Bucks versus Daniels and Kazarian. I mean, that's a pretty awesome match anywhere.
It's a match that's happening in a couple of independent promotions, and with good reason.
Exactly, and it has already occurred. I mean, I encourage everyone to go check out Quintessential Pro Wrestling. They put it out there for free on YouTube, so you can get a taste of what this might be like. And in front of a Philly crowd, that's gonna be something to see. And then on the same show, you have Cedric Alexander facing Elgin for the title. ACH is facing Jay Lethal for the TV title. It's kind of surprising. Maybe this is something I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about. Is we're getting these Summer Heat Tour shows, but other than Aftershock, they don't seem to have quote unquote the name, you know what I mean? They're not titled shows. It doesn't bother me, but I feel that sometimes when a show does have a title, it does bring a little bit more importance. Unless it's a TV taping, then obviously you shouldn't, and they have, which was kind of weird. But yeah, I don't know. This show, I feel like coming out of these TV tapings, when you have these quote unquote house shows, you got to make them feel a little bit more important.
And by giving them a name, it does that. Absolutely, I totally agree with you on that.
Right.
To me, when I first heard that they were calling the Summer Heat Tour, it sounded like something like you would have heard Tony Schiavone yelling about in like 1987 on TBS. Come out and see the best of the NWA on Summer Heat Tour '87.
Right. No, or like this is the Great American Bash Tour or something like that, which is fine. For back then that made sense, but now 2014. Ring of Honor, the de facto number 3. Some people would argue that's number 2. I still say it's the number 3 because, obviously the reach and everything. But you got to make these shows kind of feel a little bit more important, and that's just one of the things. It's a small thing, it's not a big deal. Call it Ring of Honor, I don't know, Afflicted or something. But still, it gives it a little bit more gravitas.
I think having no name is better than being called Afflicted GST. That is not good.
I am not part of Ring of Honor's marketing tour, okay?
With good reason.
Yes. Hey, you're the one that was talking about giving people fruit baskets. So
I think fruit is a very important part of the food pyramid.
It is. Fruit is good.
Yes. All right, so is there anything else, guys, that we missed that we wanted to talk about? Because, Ring of Honor, obviously, they have a lot of shows coming up, the Future of Honor, the Summer Heat Tour, as we just mentioned. We're all leading down the way to Death Before Dishonor, so is there anything else?
Well, Ari was going to talk about his experience at the CHIKARA show. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, okay. Well then, Ari, this is your moment to shine.
I thought we were not going to mix universes here.
Yeah.
You open the doorway, my man. You open the doorway. So now let's step through it together as a 3-man group.
This is scary.
Just do it, Ari. Just go for it. Anyone who is listening right now, you've clearly listened long enough. Let's have Ari tell you about his life experience in New York with CHIKARA, with the craziness, with the killing of frogs and whatever else happened.
I think that was Massachusetts.
That was in Massachusetts.
Oh, well, see, not even remembering correctly.
New York, they killed a Tursus, I think. I don't know. This death thing in pro wrestling is very... I don't know. It turns my stomach. It should not be happening. I like going to the show. I was actually a little bit trepidatious, if that's a word. I was concerned going in because it's at Stage 48. The CHIKARA show is the Living Daylights, and it was named after the Bond film, as all their shows are. And it was standing room only. On the ticket it says this is concert seating. So I was like really not looking forward to going to a show and having to stand for 3 hours, which is basically what I did. And the venue is sort of like a combination of the Highline, which is where they usually run, CHIKARA did in previous years, and Terminal 5, and that there's like this. You walk up these stairs that look like it's from the Highline. You're already in the balcony, and the balcony was already filled when I came in there. I came in like 10 minutes before the bell rang. It was so weird and awkward. I mean, it's a beautiful venue. Don't get me wrong, but for a wrestling show, I don't know if it's the most optimal place to go. So I went downstairs. Downstairs, obviously, you go downstairs, and there's more people standing around. But they do have on all three sides, they have these lounge areas with some very cool, nice, comfortable couches and stuff like that, and tables in the back. So if people did want to sit, you could, but it was, it wasn't necessarily. And unlike the Highline, you didn't get, hawked for food by the people there. There was no, you didn't have to buy anything if you didn't want to. But there was a fully stocked bar on all three sides, and that was kind of cool. And the show itself was fun. It was, if you went to a CHIKARA show before, this was pretty much what you expect out of a CHIKARA show now. Just, I think half the show had there's a lot of new faces for me. I'm not keeping a close personal eye on a lot of the storylines. I know there's the Flood versus CHIKARA as a whole. I know the basics. And I went in just to kind of have a good time. And because of that, I had a good time. But, quality-wise, good wrestling. I can't tell you if it's like a must-see show, like in the CHIKARA mythos. Maybe that's something best for Justin and Kevin to talk about on a future show, if they manage to see it. But the singles attraction matches were very good. Remington versus Chuck Taylor was hysterical and just super over because, as I might have hinted at before, they built this as like the magic move match. They pulled a move name out of a hat, and that person, if anyone in the match pulled out the move, then the fans received a special prize. And the move was a German suplex, and so they spent the entire match just building around the German suplex and getting huge pops over it. And Remington is a fantastic new character. Chuck Taylor is always over with the fans. They love his act.
I was just about to ask, are you on the Ashley Remington bandwagon? But
I like him a lot. I think
it's smooth sailing, man.
Smooth sailing, Ashley Remington. He's great. He came out with some girls. I guess some locally selected talents because I saw them walking out after the match, and very, very good-looking girls. That they didn't stay much.
Actually, I do have a question for you. Actually, the Whiff Banana champion Juan Francisco de Coronado, when he defeated Eddie Kingston via submission, there, hey, wrestling fans, we like to talk about it. There's some consternation on Twitter. How did the match go? What did you feel like it was a deserved win, or what happened?
No, well, that's the entire point. It wasn't a deserved win. The whole storyline is that Eddie Kingston is just lost his motivation and doesn't care, and I think maybe he thinks he's being put up against chumps and stuff like that. So he put in no effort here, Coronado.
So it was like a typical Eddie Kingston match, is what you're saying?
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That was Christopher J. Miccio, not
who does live in Brooklyn, pretty close to Kingston. So you go.
Yeah. I wouldn't answer any doors, Chris.
Firearm, so he can come.
Oh, well.
Wow.
And Miccio keeps a beer cabinet pretty stocked, or soda cabinet anyway. I don't know. Sometimes the whiskey is flowing. So maybe you just come for a drink and just forget about the whole thing. So the whole thing was that, Juan Francisco de Very Long Nemo, would put Kingston in a headlock, and Kingston would just push him back, and Kingston would just take bumps off of anything. He would leave the ring and come back. He really didn't care. And so Coronado put him in like a cloverleaf type move, and he just tapped out. He really didn't struggle to get out. And again, as a ticket buying person, customer, I want to see Eddie Kingston in a really good competitive match, but putting in effort. But that's not the storyline they were going with. So I think people who follow the CHIKARA storylines, they get it. I think people who walked in expecting Eddie, from other promotions to do what he does and not getting it, maybe they're a little bit pissed off. But I think this was mostly a very pro CHIKARA crowd. Everyone was so into the action, supportive, that I think they got it. Not happy about it, but they got it. And it's funny because, again, the best part of the whole thing is the interaction you get with people. And Kingston, after the match, Kingston was in the crowd talking to people, hanging out with people. While the wrestlers were walking out back and forth during intermission, that kind of stuff. So the Flood came out through the streets through a side entrance for their matches, and so they would come through the crowd right by where I was. I was so dumbfounded I didn't take any photos of it. It was kind of stupid on my part, but it was like, whoa, it was very unexpected. And then the tag matches.
You saw Sin Bodhi and you just couldn't handle it. You were like,
I was shocked.
Wow.
I was shocked into nothingness, doing nothingness. Exactly. But the tag matches were good. The singles attraction bouts were good. I just felt, as far as the venue goes, I hope they choose either a different venue or can get seats in there next time, because standing for 3 hours was not fun. The show was fun, but the circumstances around the show weren't the greatest.
Sure. I mean, hey, standing for 3 hours, that's not fun, really.
Yeah, I'm used to doing that for concerts, but even now I'm getting older. I don't want to have to do that. The wrestling show in the High Line had seats. And they had a lounge area if you wanted to go sit in that area too. They had the balcony area where they had seats. So it's the circumstances, I guess, of the venue. I'm not sure why they stopped running the High Line. Maybe it had to do with rent issues too. But if they could get back there, that would be awesome, because that was a really good venue for them. But we'll see. We'll see what happens for the future. I don't know. Again, it's like if you're a CHIKARA fan, you probably will end up watching the show anyway. So my recommendation doesn't really matter either way. I had a good time. I felt it was what you might expect out of a CHIKARA show nowadays. So whether that's a good thing for you or a bad thing, I don't know. I do know it was fun chanting at Missile Assault and asking him what was his name, because for the life of me, I just, after he said it 5 times, 6 times, I still didn't understand what his name was. So.
You really didn't understand what his name was?
I kept asking what his name was. I mean, I didn't quite get it.
Well then.
That was a really good match, though. So check that one out.
I don't know where else we could go after that. So guys, why don't we get out of here? Yes, let's throw in some plugs. Miccio, why don't you go first?
I got nothing really to plug, except the what's it called, the We Love Pro Wrestling Facebook group. That's we have an ongoing Best of the Indies tournament again this year, like we did last year.
Who is winning that, by the way?
Well, we've only had like 5 matches so far. So today's hot match, if you're interested, is Eddie Kingston. Again, his name pops up again, and Drew Gulak. They're the current matchup in the event. We have 32 of the top indie names going today that were suggested by the members of the group. I threw their names into a randomizer program, drew up a first-round matchup for everybody, and we'll just take it from there and see how it works out.
And Mr. Touchdown.
Oh no! I think I took him out because you gave me a lot of crap about that. But I do believe I took Mr. Touchdown out of the competition.
And then what happens this weekend? They win the tag titles. I look like a fool.
You're wrong. I left him in, and he lost to Silas Young in his first round matchup.
Oh well, then that's fine.
Does that make you happy, knowing that Mr. Touchdown was defeated, but he did win Campeones de Parejas this weekend, so that was a big win for him in the real world.
I'm intrigued that Ari voted for Eddie Kingston and you voted for Gulak.
Why wouldn't I vote for?
It just continues the pattern, my friend. What am I saying?
Why wouldn't I vote for Drew Gulak?
Why wouldn't I vote for Eddie Kingston?
I'm just saying.
The other thing I wanted to plug is something that I know you had up on the PW Ponderings website. House of Glory, which is a local pro wrestling school owned by Brian XL and Amazing Red, are going to be running their world title tournament coming up. I know from the We Love Pro Wrestling group, Dennis Long is a big good friend with a lot of those guys. And I know that he's been talking a lot of great things about what's going on at their training facility. So I told him I would give a little plug to that. So if you are available to go to that and you live in the New York City area, they're holding their World Championship tournament title tournament event on August 16th. It's a Saturday night, the night after the ROH show at the MCU venue. So if you can make your way out to Queens to check that show out, I'm sure it'll be a good one. They have a couple of really good names on it. I know Jay Lethal's on the show, Drew Gulak's on the show, Ricochet is on the show, amongst others. So if you can get the chance to head out to that, I would really suggest it because I think it's going to be a good time.
I expect a live report from both of you. Because
Listen,
I'm not flying out to Queens.
I looked it up. Like I always tell Dennis, Queens is a pain in the ass. Like it's hard to get to from Brooklyn because it really is. You have to go into Manhattan to get to Queens, which is really strange when you look at the if you're taking public transportation at least. If you look at the map, you'd figure Brooklyn, Queens, they're connected. It would be easy, but it's not. But I did look it up last night when we were hanging out, when Ari and I were hanging out, and it's actually really, it's not as hard to get to as I thought it would be. So I'm really giving it good thought, and if I don't have anything cooking, I think I'm probably head out for that show.
Oh, excellent. Well then, yep. Ari, the pressure's on you. Now you gotta go and tell some people some of your stuff. What do you have coming out, Ari?
Well, if you haven't checked out the columns of honors from the last few weeks, I highly do recommend it. I think there's been quite a few really good articles I've written, including my write-up of the experience we had at TNA for the Impact tapings with the now sport. It's not a spoiler anymore. It's Matt Hardy is returning to TNA for a match there. Wrote all about that, and then I wrote a article in praise of Matt Hardy, which I thought was also really well done there.
A lot of people liked it, yes.
Yes, so did that, and then I had a couple of articles looking at who Michael Elgin could wrestle for the Ring of Honor World title, both if you were not a former Ring of Honor World Champion, and if you were a Ring of Honor World Champion formerly, who could come back and challenge for the title. So it's Fight for Fighting Elgin and Fight for Fighting Elgin Super Turbo Championship Edition are the names of the columns. For anyone who's a Street Fighter fan, I hope you appreciate the reference there.
And I hate that you have low key in red. That's cool.
Wow. It's just not happening, my friend. Maybe one day, but not now. And then if you want to check me out on Twitter, it's at Ari Berenstein, or just type in your search bar Column of Honor, just type in column, and it should come up right away. So at Ari Berenstein, ARIBERENSTEIN, or type in Column of Honor. Always check us out on the Podcast of Honor, and that is what I got.
All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for listening. And of course, as always, if you're checking us out on iTunes or Stitcher, please leave a 4 or 5-star review. Help us get the word out there. We'd really appreciate it. For myself, I do have a couple things coming out. I don't know when, but I have a little bit of a break here. Work is getting easier, as always, during the summer season, which is nice for me. So I believe I should have some CWF Mid-Atlantic and C4 Wrestling reviews coming out shortly. I do want to plug our own Brad Garoon. He has written, I think right now, up to 6 volumes of the history of Dragon Gate. And if you're a fan of Ring of Honor, obviously during a time period when they had a partnership, and you may or may not be a fan of Dragon Gate USA, you should go check out these books right now. They're on Amazon.com. There's a link at the bottom of the website, or just look up at Garoon Gate on Twitter, and you can find out where to buy them. Also, check out all the reviews are up right now. I'm actually kind of jealous. There's some Beyond Wrestling, CZW, AIW, AAW, and more up in the DVD review section, of course, by our own Kevin Ford, Jerome Cuson, Ryan Rosansky, our new writer, Chris Kelly. So go check that out. Should be a lot of fun. As always, we will be, depending on when you're listening to this, this coming up weekend, we are going to have live PWG tweeting for 11, so check that out as well. And then I will be going to BOLA, so expect lots of fun stuff from that as well in the near future. So for Chris Miccio, Ari Berenstein, thank you for listening, and we'll come and talk to you again real soon.